Okay. The boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. In those days, the word of the Lord was rare. There were not many visions. This is somewhat counterintuitive to what we might expect. But generally speaking, the more faithful a people are, the more God will appear to them. And the less faithful a people are, the less God will appear to them. Now we might think of it not this way, because we think that God will speak to those who are lost, or that God will pursue those who are going astray. We have a lot of these books later in the Old Testament with the prophets' names on them, and those prophets are speaking generally to an unfaithful people. That's the point of those books, is that they're calling those people back to God. So on the surface of it, this doesn't really fit what we might expect. But it's the same thing that we see in the Gospels when Jesus, after he begins his career as a traveling preacher, goes back to his hometown and doesn't do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. It's like God's activity is greater the more that people respond to him. So in these days, the days of the judges, which are ending here under Eli and Samuel, God's word is rare because the people are not interested in hearing from him. And so that kind of goes against what we normally think. But that is and again, like I said, we have a lot of books later in the Old Testament with the prophets' names on them that those prophets are speaking to an unfaithful people. So it does seem kind of counterintuitive, but that is basically how it goes. The more faithful people are, the more God will appear to them, and the less faithful people are, the more God will not appear to them, or the less God appears to them. There comes a point when God just gives us over to our desires. And if we don't want to have anything to do with him, then he'll let us go our own way to the end. Even here with Eli's sons, Phinehas and Hophni, they're doing their own thing, and God's going to let them do that, so it's time to judge them. Some sort of weird motor running somewhere. One night, Eli, his eyes were becoming so weak that he could barely see. Now, he saw Hannah's lips moving earlier. That would have been a few years ago, though, before Samuel was born. And Samuel was now probably a small child, maybe 10. I don't know, really. So in the years since that encounter with Hannah, Eli's eyes have gone. Eli will die at age 98 in a couple of chapters. So I don't know if he's close to 98 here or what. I'm not sure. Anyway, one night, Eli, whose eyes were becoming so weak that he could barely see, was lying down in his usual place. He would have had some bedroom or something somewhere. Again, the tabernacle at this point is probably more than just a tent, like it was before. It's been in Shiloh now for several centuries, and they've probably built up a structure around it. I don't know what that sound is. I don't know if you can hear it on this video, but there's some kind of weird motor running somewhere out there, I guess. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord. There's that word temple again. Oh, gosh. Why are you in such a mood today? My goodness, you have been annoying. Where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." And he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am. You called me." But Eli said, "I am not called. Go back and lie down." So he went and lay down. It's just before morning. This lamp, let's see if we can find it here. Is that a mower? Would they be mowing? I guess. It kind of sounds like a mower. Sounds like they're out in the front yard. They might be coming back here when they get done with that. I want to try to get done with this lesson this video before they come back here, because I don't want to talk over them. If that's what it is, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not honestly sure what that is, but let's see here. No, that's the making of it. I'm not. Let me go before that. Exodus 27, starting in verse 20. Command the Israelites to bring you clear oil of pressed olives for the lamp, so that the lamps may be kept burning. In the tent of meeting, outside the curtain that is in front of the testimony, Aaron and his sons are to keep the lamps burning before the Lord from evening till morning, so during the dark, basically. This is to be a lasting ordinance among the Israelites for the generations to come. This is sometime before morning. This is sometime before dawn. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. The word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him, so he doesn't know who's calling him. He assumes it's Eli. He doesn't know the Lord. I don't know how old he is here. 10, 8, 5, 6, somewhere in there. He's not too old. The Lord called Samuel. Wait, where am I? Oh, I skipped a few verses. I'm sorry. Okay, so he goes and lies down. Verse 6. Again the Lord called, Samuel. And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, Here I am. You called me. My son, Eli said, I did not call. Go back and lie down. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. The word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to Samuel. It will be, obviously. But he doesn't know what he's dealing with here because he's never dealt with it before. The Lord called Samuel a third time. And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, Here I am. You called me. Then Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So Eli told Samuel, Go and lie down, and if he calls you again, say, Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord came and stood there, calling as at the other times, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel said, Speak, for your servant is listening. And the Lord said to Samuel, See, I am about to do something in Israel that will make the ears of everyone who hears it tingle. That's not good. When the Lord starts speaking like that, it's not good news for somebody. Somebody out there is going to get smacked down pretty hard when he starts talking like this. At that time, I will carry out against Eli everything I spoke about his family, from beginning to end. For I told him that I would judge his family forever, because of the sin he knew about. His sons made themselves contemptible, and they blasphemed God, and he failed to restrain them. Therefore, I swore to the house of Eli, the guilt of Eli's house will never be atoned for by sacrifice or by offering. So there is no way for them to make their way back with God after this. He is going to remove them from being priests of God and from being the high priest of God and put someone else in their place again. Samuel lay down until morning and then opened the doors of the house of the Lord. So again, this is a door, not a curtain. The tabernacle originally just had a curtain. Now they have doors. So there is some kind of a structure here surrounding this tent. This tent was what was built in the days of Moses, which they carried around with them. It's probably still here in Shiloh, but it's been augmented by a permanent structure of some kind, of wood or stone or something. It has doors now, instead of just a curtain. So there's some kind of a building here, which the tent presumably is wrapped around somehow, or somehow, surrounded by. He was afraid to tell Eli the vision. Eli is his boss, his master, his teacher, guy in charge. He doesn't want to tell. And Samuel's probably still a young child here. I doubt he'd be more than 10 at this point. I don't know how old he is, but I don't think he'd be very old. So he doesn't want to tell Eli the bad news. But Eli called him and said, "Samuel, my son." Samuel answered, "Here I am." "What was it he said to you?" Eli asked. "Do not hide it from me. May God deal with you, be it ever so severely, if you hide from me anything he told you." So Samuel told him everything, hiding nothing from him. Then Eli said, "He is the Lord. Let him do what is good in his eyes." The Lord was with Samuel as he grew up, and he let none of his words fall to the ground, meaning everything that Samuel said came true. He didn't say anything in vain. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba recognized that Samuel was attested as a prophet of the Lord's. That's a national figure. That's north to south, everyone from north to south. Not just a tribe, not just a local area like the previous judges and prophets were, but everyone from north to south. The Lord continued to appear at Shiloh, and there he revealed himself to Samuel through his word. And Samuel's word came to all Israel. Okay, that's enough of that for today. A calamitous event is about to happen. The Israelites are about to engage in battle with the Philistines, and they are going to be defeated, and the Ark of God is going to be captured. The scriptures do not record it, but there is a pretty good likelihood that the tabernacle at Shiloh, or whatever stone structure or whatever was built around the tabernacle at Shiloh, is also going to be destroyed at this time. All the scriptures do not record that. This is actually very equivalent to what will happen to them in the days to come when they get taken into exile to Babylon. Now, they're not taken out of their land at this point. The Israelites themselves are not taken as captives to a foreign land. They're in the land. They're still there, living in their land. But their ark is going to be captured, and their center of worship is going to be stopped. And so this is a pretty calamitous event. And this is what God was talking about when he forecasted doom on Eli's house. Twice, both to the man of God who spoke to Eli at one point, and then confirming that to Samuel, who passed the message on to Eli sometime later. So he spoke about this, and these events are going to be wrapped up in this disastrous battle, which will not only result in the death of Eli's sons, but the death of Eli himself, and the death of other members of his family, and most significantly of all, the loss of the Ark of the Covenant of God, which is essentially meaning that their God has left them. And so this is a very disastrous, calamitous event, which is basically on league with the exile of future centuries. The difference being, of course, that in this case they're not kicked out of the land like they will be in the future, but they are going to be deprived of the presence of God. This will finally get their attention. And the goal here, God's goal in doing all of this, is to finally get their attention so they will listen to this. Samuel is going to predict this. He's said this already. And so now, with the Israelites having lost their ark and lost their center of worship, and having already come to accept Samuel as a prophet of God, now they're finally going to be ready to listen to him again. It's taken a long time, but now they're finally going to be coming together as a people, ready to listen to the prophet of God again. It won't last, of course. They'll backslide again not long after that. But at least we're going to be correcting the problem of the Judges period, where everyone is kind of going off doing his own thing, however he sees fit. But that's next time.